thank you so much for joining me. That was a little montage of me making my breakfast cocktail. Orange juice and fizzy water, ginger, and vodka. And this here is my little satanic buddy. So today I want to talk about what discovering yourself as a queer person is. As I'm sure you guessed by the name, yes, you're probably queer. I answer questions on apps like Quora and other places all the time, and one of the main questions that I see in different variations is, am I queer? And the beginning of the question is usually like, well, I'm a boy and I like boys, but I like girls more, and I'm fine just dating girls, but I do like boys. I'm probably straight, right? And it's just, it's always so hard for me to find an answer for the person, because I just want to tell them, yes, you're probably queer. It's one of those things where if you're thinking about it, if you're stressing about it, if you're uncertain, the answer is probably yes. I'm not saying you can't experiment and then eventually just end up straight, but most of the people that I know that experimented and then ended up straight, experimented with their sexuality and then ended up straight, were just people who decided to closet themselves because it was easier. I'm not saying this is everybody's experience, but they just were like, well, sure, I have an attraction to people that would, make me not straight, but it's not really worth going through the hassle of coming out, figuring myself out as a queer person, having to tell family or friends. So yeah, I'm just gonna be with people that would make other people assume that I'm straight, and that's fine. And it is fine. If that's what you need to do to protect yourself, if that's what you need to do to be able to live your life and not constantly feel harassed, that's fine. But I don't think it'll make you happier over time. Even with those other things that I just mentioned not happening, most people that I've met through my work that have denied themselves or denied their sexuality or their gender or any other bit in between, it just ends up being more of a detriment than anything. It's like, oh, well, I didn't come out as queer, but I got to save my job and I didn't have to tell my friends, and my family still respects me and all this stuff, and they're still miserable because they're not being themselves. And so that's part of what I want to impart to you today, is that being yourself, the journey towards being yourself, will hurt and it'll suck and you'll lose people and you'll gain people, but in the end it's always worth it. The other thing I want to talk about is the idea that something has to change if you decide to identify as queer. And that's just not the case. Coming out or accepting yourself comes in different stages for a lot of people. It's not just, oh my gosh, today I decided, and now I'm telling my parents, now I'm telling my friends, now I'm going to different bars, now I'm doing different daily activities. No, your life can stay exactly the same. The only thing that has changed is that you consider yourself queer, and that maybe when you feel comfortable in the right situation with the right people, that you can say that you're queer. And you're not going to be asked to provide any proof. I promise you. I know that was a big thing for me for a long time. It was feeling like I knew I was queer, I knew I wasn't straight. I knew I was different, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. And I just didn't feel enough. I didn't feel queer enough. I didn't feel out enough. And so therefore I was just straight and doomed to straightness for the rest of my life. And no, I met some people and read some articles that really just changed my mind and helped me realize that I was queer, even if I identified as bisexual and had only been with cis men who were straight. I was still queer. And I sat with that for a while. Nothing in my life changed, but I sat with it. And when I was with close people and it came up, I was comfortable enough to say I'm queer, and those people were respectful enough to not ask for proof or ask for what kind of queer or how queer. And if people ask you those questions, then they're not people you want to be around anyway. But that was a big thing for me, feeling like, oh, well, my life hasn't changed, so I'm not queer. You can't just pick a new label, not change anything, and then just have it be right. But yeah, you can. You can change daily if you want. You can change your labels. It's perfectly fine. But it's the fact that you're experimenting and you're trying and you're giving yourself that room that's so important. It's so important. I just want you to know that it's okay and that it will be okay. That you can sit with yourself and you can be queer and feel it deep inside of you, but not be ready to tell other people. You don't have to deny it to yourself. You don't have to deny it to yourself. And if you're constantly working to deny it to yourself, or constantly questioning, or constantly making up, well, I did this, but this means I'm straight, or I did this, but, I'm not really, whatever. Just call yourself queer, sit with it, open up to people that you're close with. And if you don't have people that you're close enough with or that you trust enough to talk to about these things, then seek them out. Seek them out online, meet with local groups if you can, being COVID safe, of course, and just give yourself space and the opportunity to learn more about yourself, learn more about other people, and yeah. Like, of course it's going to feel awkward at first because you've been told your whole life that being called queer or gay or lesbian or whatever is the wrong thing, or like, here's straight and then you have all these other things. And, well, yeah, of course that's how you were taught it because that's the mentality of our culture. But no, you don't. You're not any different. You're not any worse. You're not any better. You're just queer. And it's gonna feel awkward at first because you've been told your entire life that you're not, or that that's not a good word, or that means there's something wrong with you. But there isn't anything wrong with you. And if you decide you're queer and then at some point decide you're not, that's perfectly fine. Most of the straight people that I know that have done that weren't just closeting themselves over just, it was too hard to be out as queer, were really thankful for experimenting and exploring with their sexuality and their gender because it made them more sympathetic, empathetic, and understanding of other people's lives and the struggle that people go through to figure out who they are and why they exist and what they need in their life to feel whole. So even if you're straight, or if you're queer, whatever it is, experimenting, exploring, being kind to yourself, not judging yourself, and not setting these weird arbitrary rules for yourself that society has given you, like, oh, well, you're not queer, you live a straight life, or, you have all straight friends, and you go to straight bars, and I don't know, it's all that sounds really silly to me. But don't let anyone tell you what you can or can't be. Being queer takes just you admitting it to yourself, just you coming to terms with the fact that you may not be straight. And that's all it takes. So I hope this helped a little bit, and just be kind to yourself. That's my number one rule. I'll see you again soon, and gosh, this cocktail's really good.